Counter-Jihad Magazine, the magazine of the counter-jihad movement, dedicated to the principles of equality of all people before the law, freedom of speech, and freedom of conscience. Counter-Jihad Magazine begins by taking a look back at the enigmatic New Age cult leader, Eric Allen Bell. That's this time on Counter-Jihad Magazine. Another salient moment during EAB's stay with the counter-jihad movement was his appearance on the Jamie Glazov Show, where he lied about his New Age beliefs. This happened after EAB tried to browbeat a Muslim into renouncing her faith on the radio. This is the same Saba who insinuated herself into a Hudson Institute panel that featured Bridget Gabriel.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace to you all. My name is Saba Ahmed. I'm a law student at American University. We have 8 million plus Muslim Americans in this country, and I don't see them represented here.
And since you're the only Muslim representative in here, you took the limelight instead of speaking about why our government, instead of standing up and saying a question or asking something about our 4 Americans that died and what our government is doing to correct the problem, you stood there to make a point about peaceful, moderate Muslims.
National security shady character. Let's take the gloves off and speak the truth, Saba. This time, you're dealing with Bridget Gabriel. You're not dealing with somebody timid that you can manipulate and talk over. Not this time, Saba. People like you need to be put in their place. This is America. We love our country and we will fight for our country and protect her from people exactly like you and expose people exactly like you.
Wow, Bridget,
Yes.
you just sound very, very angry.
Bridget gave Saba a piece of her mind, but she never told Saba to stop being a Muslim. That's all Eric did. This could have been his Bridget Gabriel moment, but instead he chose to engage in bigotry.
I just had a question for Saba, since you had identified yourself, if I heard you correctly, as a moderate Muslim. Will you right now on the air condemn the Prophet Muhammad for killing people? This is a yes or no question. Will you condemn right now the Prophet Muhammad for killing people? Yes or no? I'm not labeling you. I'm asking you. I'm giving you an opportunity. Will you condemn Prophet Muhammad? You're the equivalent of a Nazi sympathizer. Right, but here's where we just get lost in a tangent. I began by asking you specifically about your prophet. Will you condemn him for killing people? Will you condemn him for ordering the stoning of a woman? Will you condemn him for having sex with a 9-year-old girl? It's really simple. Yes or no?
No. I feel
So you think that she's 9 years old? How do we know she's being forced? Your prophet is a rapist. Your prophet is a rapist. What do you mean? How do we know she's being forced? What's wrong with you?
Saba, how can a 6-year-old girl?
Then why don't you just simply stop being a Muslim?
But
if it's
Saba,
not okay with you, snap out of it.
Eric's performance on the Jamie Glazov Show demonstrated that Eric Allen Bell is not interested in the First Amendment. The counter-jihad movement is not about mass apostasy. It's not about telling people what to think or say or wear. It's about equality of all people before the law. Obey the law and give up the jihad and Sharia activities which should be considered human rights violations that erode the rule of law. In exchange, Muslims may worship freely and live in peace. It's not a bad deal, and it's certainly better than what Eric is offering, which is mind control. Interestingly enough, Eric has personal beliefs of his own, some of which are quite ridiculous and delusional. The following week on the same show, it was Eric Allen Bell's turn to defend his previous week's performance.
Mr. Bell, in my opinion, you engaged in bigotry on the February 28th edition of the Jamie Glazov Show.
Yeah, I am absolutely intolerant of Islam. You nailed it. I am intolerant. In the scheme of things, it was okay. It was acceptable what I did. I would do it again.
And to also defend his embarrassing New Age beliefs.
Eric Allen Bell is a hardcore New Ager.
He was also challenged about his support for the movie What the Bleep, Ramtha, and Dr. Emoto.
R-A-M-T-H-A.
Definitely not endorse
Dr. Emoto.
I don't know where you're getting this stuff from.
He sidestepped these names and went into a discussion of unicorns and rainbows, things about which he had never been asked.
For a couple of years, I've had a site called Global One TV, globalone.tv. We've had about 24 million people come to the site. People who don't know anything about a site that's dedicated to the science of consciousness might wrongly think it's New Age. There's no unicorns or rainbows or sage waving or any of the typical New Age nonsense.
Science of consciousness? 3 observations about Eric's statements on the Jamie Glazov Show. 1. A search for the term science of consciousness reveals that people are indeed working on this subject. But groups such as Center for Consciousness Studies and the Association for the Scientific Study of Consciousness are never mentioned at Global One. Publications like the Journal of Consciousness Studies and the Journal of Consciousness Exploration and Research are ignored at Global One. People typically associated with the science of consciousness are unknown at Global One, such as David Chalmers, who Eric appears to be unfamiliar with. There is no mention of any of these people at Global One. Roger Penrose is only mentioned at Global One in the writings of Amit Goswami, a former instructor at Ramtha School of Enlightenment. A search for Science of Consciousness and Global One produces posts from Global One written by Greg Braden, Amit Goswami, Deepak Chopra, and Edgar Mitchell, the founder of the New Age think tank Institute of Noetic Sciences. Global One is not a website dedicated to the science of consciousness. It is a New Age website. Number 2, Eric's statement about 24 million people coming to his site may be an exaggeration. Alexa shows Eric's web traffic to be 8 times smaller than what he claims. 3. He said he didn't know where the stuff was coming from. How could that possibly be true? Eric has made several posts promoting What the Bleep at Global One. Eric Allen Bell is part of the New Age movement. His website, Global One, is proof of that. EAB's New Age beliefs are important because it gives us a clue about what his ethics might be. For example, what his standards are concerning lying and admitting to error. Also, it is important because EAB comes with his own mob. We don't know where they come from, or how many of them there are. It may be reasonable to assume many of them might be New Age followers like Eric. So if you find them engaging in questionable ethics, trying to stifle discussion of Eric Allen Bell, or occupy the counter-jihad movement under the direction of their leader, I think that is cause for conversation at the very least. Eric likes to point out what he calls the hypocrisy of the counter-jihad movement. Because Christians do not like criticism of Jesus, but do like criticism of Muhammad, the counter-jihad movement is hypocritical and illegitimate, according to Eric. But the hypocrisy is Eric's, because he is leaving an important setting off of his dial, and that is his own beliefs, his New Age beliefs. He doesn't like talking about this. He doesn't like defending his promotion of the movie What the Bleep or the scoundrels within that film. And as recently as 2015, Eric is promoting Amit Goswami, a Ramtha cohort who teaches a connection between quantum physics and consciousness. This is not Hinduism, this is New Age, and Eric does not want to discuss this central aspect of his character. Then there is why he left the counter-jihad movement. Although EAB says he left because he found Christians using his work, he never gives a single example of what he means. No links, no names, nothing. His leaving was so abrupt and precipitous, even his supporters were having a hard time buying it. EAB pulled the plug on his operation in the counter-jihad movement. All his websites, all his subscribers were taken down and canceled. While he was denouncing Christians, he also burst free into full-frontal New Age splendor by declaring you, that is to say he, is God. He is divine. The divinity of human nature is one of the defining features of the New Age movement, and it was something he had been holding back the entire time. Later, he even stopped taking donations at Global One, something he had previously called his livelihood. Someone who had just been at loose ends was now full of mad money, and he flounced out of the movement, fulminating against God, Christianity, Jesus, and the evangelicals. In fact, this went on for weeks, and to such a degree that it makes one wonder if he isn't protesting too much and diverting attention away from something else. I don't know what that something else is, But the fact that after a month of fraudulent behavior, he concluded that Christians are holding back the counter-jihad movement might be a clue. And I believe we have seen him do something like this before. Of course, I'm talking about the tale of EAB and his cars.
Next time, we take a look at Eric's hanky-panky with his cars, the stupefying effect he has on people, his endorsement of the film What the Bleep, and his deep and secretive involvement with the New Age. That's all next time on Counter Jihad Magazine.